Hi, I'm Zoe Gong. As a traditional Chinese medicine chef and food therapist, I love using Squarespace to share my recipes and wellness tips.
Welcome everybody to the Double R Podcast. This is your boy Retro Recap. We're getting started in a second. All right, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody, to the show. We have a great show today. We have a special show today. You guys already know. I don't know why this camera never pans on me the right way. Excuse me for 1 second. That's still not right. I want it right there. So normally we do these after each Ravens game. So we got a special edition today. We got some news. about Dalvin Cook. I was actually going to do a show today anyway. I was looking up the injuries. I was looking up the NFL playoff picture. And I was like, all right. I was going to get on and talk about the potential opponents that the Ravens may face in the playoffs. And I think I'm still going to do that today. And then the news about Dalvin Cook came out. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to pivot a little bit because we got some other news to talk about. Now, for those who don't know, Dalvin Cook started off his career with the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings cut him before this season. And at that moment, you know how the Ravens love their running backs. I already assumed that the Ravens were going to sign Dalvin Cook because that's what they do. They love running backs. You know what I'm saying? What was the guy's name from a couple years ago? I cannot remember what the guy's name is. In 2021, I forgot what the running back. Anyway, they had Latavius Murray. They had Devontae Freeman, and then they signed Melvin Gordon. The Ravens. What's up, Jason? Welcome into the Double R podcast. I'm gonna answer that question in a second. The Ravens love running backs, so it's like this signing Dalvin Cook before the beginning of this season made sense. Was he going to be your starting running back? I didn't think he was. And we already know he's not going to be the starting running back now. And I'll get into that a little bit later about why I think that is. But I was like, okay, they're going to sign Dalvin Cook. And then the Jets signed. And I was like, okay, all right, fine. I guess the Ravens are content with what they got. You had J.K. Dobbins, you had Gus Edwards, you had Justice Hill. Cool. I guess the Ravens figured we're good. And then first game of the season, J.K. gets hurt for the entire year. And I'm like, shit. That Dalvin Cook signing would have been great right now. Because we would already had Dalvin Cook on the roster. And you know what I'm saying? But the one thing I knew, what did the Jets sign him to, what, a $7 million deal before the season? I didn't think the Ravens were going to sign Dalvin Cook to that kind of money to be a second string running back. You already had JK, you already had Gus Edwards, you had Justice Hill. I didn't think they was going to sign a second or third option to a $7 million deal. So he signed with the Jets. What happens? Aaron Rodgers gets hurt on the very first series of the game. And ever since that point where he got hurt, the Jets have been terrible ever since. But here's the thing. I thought, okay, even with Aaron Rodgers going down and you have Dalvin Cook on your roster, they're going to still have a nice running game and he's going to be a part of that running game. What happened? After the first game of the season, when he had 16 touches, his usage rate went down every game since that moment. And I'm like, what are the Jets doing? Is it something that they know about that we don't know? Because this is a four-time Pro Bowler. The man has gotten over 1,800 total yards in one season, 1,500 yards rushing, 1,200 yards rushing. Are we missing something here? I believe he was, but Dalvin Cook is a beast. He should have never been third string running back on the Jets roster. 2, okay. 3 makes no sense. You signed him for $7 million. You thought his usage rate felt like he was a third string running back because the man's touches have been going down ever since that very first game of the season. So what's the deal? Do they know something that we don't know? I don't know. Okay, so anyway, his touches started to reduce over the course of the season. And then the last game that they had against the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football, he didn't even play at all. What happened after that? The Jets released him. So he goes through waivers. The Jets released him. It's a in-season release. So he goes through waivers. So what that means is every team has a chance to claim him on waivers and assume the contract that he's getting through waivers. And it starts from the worst team to the best team. So the Ravens were going to have the last crack at him anyway. So So we already knew if the Ravens were going to sign him, they were going to let him clear waivers first, because it doesn't make any sense why you would claim him on waivers and assume the contract when you're the very last team to have a chance at getting him on the waivers. Teams usually claim a player on waivers if they know a team behind them is probably going to sign them. You feel me? So because the Ravens were last on the waiver wire, it didn't make sense for the Ravens to claim him off waivers when there's nobody behind them to claim. You know what I'm saying? To pick him up, basically. So we already knew that if he cleared waivers, it was a possibility the Ravens were going to sign him. Why? Because there's a need at running back. Keaton Mitchell got injured in the Rams game. Was that the Rams game? Was that the Jaguars game? I think that was the Rams game he got injured in. I think it was the Rams game he got injured in. Done for the season. And yeah, Melvin Gordon is a Pro Bowler. Yes, he is. He's a Pro Bowler. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta put some respect on his name. But the one issue with Melvin Gordon is he fumbled the ball a lot. Over his time with the Broncos and the Chargers, he always been known to have fumble issues. Yeah, exactly, the fumble god. So I wasn't really comfortable with knowing that Melvin Gordon was my third option, because if another one of those guys get hurt, we got the fumble god as our second string running back. I'm like, oh, I don't know. So he cleared waivers, and I think, when did they release him? They released him, what? Was this yesterday or the day before? It was recently. They just released him. He cleared waivers. He's a good receiving back, yes, but it's all about holding the ball. You know, one thing Harbaugh, I mean, this is for any coach, but one thing Harbaugh does not like, he does not like fumbles. He don't like turnovers in general, but he don't like fumbles. He will put you in that doghouse, and for all my Ravens fans who know what the John Harbaugh doghouse is, he don't give a fuck how good you are on paper. If you turn the ball over consistently, you're in this doghouse. And what does that mean? It basically means you're like what Dalvin Cook was to the Jets. You're on the roster, but you ain't getting no touches. You ain't getting no carries. You're not going to be involved in the offense. So you could be Ray Lewis, but if you fuck up too many times, you in John Harbaugh doghouse, and you ain't going to get no playing time. And that's what happened over here with the Jets with Dalvin Cook. So today, as I mentioned, I was getting ready to do a video. I was getting ready to do a special. I wasn't going to stream today, but I've done all my work that I need to do. I wasn't going to stream today, but then I was getting ready to do a playoff picture as it stands right now. Who are the Ravens most likely to face? And then we get this news about Dalvin Cook signing with the Ravens, and I'm like, yes, because one, I wanted the Ravens to sign him when he got cut from the Vikings. They didn't do it. When JK got hurt, I was like, damn, this would have been nice to have Dalvin Cook. I mean, because let's be real here. If you guys don't understand what I'm talking about here, let me show you what we're talking about here. Let's get the numbers up, just for those who don't know what we're talking about here, just to make sure we're on the same page about what this man has done in his career. So I'm getting ready to pull up the numbers for you guys. Okay, here we go. And sorry, this screen, and of course, I'm not pulling a Richard Sherman here and just looking at the numbers. You know what I'm saying? You still have to watch the games and watch how he runs. But just for the sake of this podcast, we're going to look at his numbers. I mean, and like I said, the numbers do give you a snapshot of how good he is. But like I said, there's also an eye test that comes with this Richard Sherman that you got to pay attention to. All right, so Dalvin Cook with the Minnesota Vikings. 354 yards on 74 carries. 615 yards year 2. 1,100, 1,500, 1,100, 1,100. Now that's just rushing. Now look at receiving. Receiving yards. Where we at here? Where's my yardage at? Okay, here we go. Yards. 90 yards, 305 yards, 519. So the point I'm trying to make is He's multi-talented. He gives you yards rushing and he gives you yards receiving. So this year right here, the 1,500-yard year in the COVID year, he had 361 yards receiving. So that's 1,800 yards, 1,900 yards of total offense. The man almost gave you a 2,000-yard season. The man can play. So that's why when the Minnesota Vikings cut him, I was like, huh? So he's averaging 4.6, 4.5, 5 yards a carry. So he's averaging damn near 5 yards a carry. In NFL terms, that's pretty good. So I was like, why did they release him? You know what I'm saying? Okay, then when I look at fumbles. Let's look at fumbles. I don't think you guys can see it on this end, but the most fumbles that he's had in the season is 5. And that was the year that he got the 1,500 yards, but that was also the year that he got the most carries at 312. So more carries, more opportunities to fumble the ball. Whatever. 5 fumbles is not, you don't want to have 5 fumbles, but realistically, if you put enough 1,500 yards, 1,800 yards of total offense, I can live with 5 fumbles. I ain't happy about it, but I can live with it. You know what I'm saying? So the man is good. So the man is good. So what does this mean? Is he gonna play in the Steelers game? No. One is Thursday. The Ravens play on Saturday, which I actually forgot about because when I made that video yesterday about Lamar Jackson not playing, I put in the title, Lamar Jackson will not play Sunday against the Steelers, and I realized, oh shit, they play on Saturday. And if you looked at the weather in Baltimore, it's gonna be snowing. It's gonna be a wintry mix. You don't play Lamar Jackson in that nonsense. You just don't. I thought if it was like somebody in the comment section put this in there yesterday, and I was thinking this. If it wasn't against the Steelers, and if it wasn't snowy or raining on Saturday, I would have played Lamar Jackson for a quarter or a series. Because he's not playing this week, he's not playing the bye week. So he's not going to be playing for 3 weeks, basically. That's a long time to go without football. I'm a little concerned because they did the same thing in 2019 when they had the number 1 seed. And Lamar, ironically, the last game of the year was against the Steelers. Tyler Huntley played that. No, RG3 played that game. That was when RG3 started. They won that game, but it was like, Lamar Jackson didn't play. Then they came out rusty in that Titans game where they lost, where Derrick Henry just had his way. You know what I'm saying? So, I lost my train of thought for a second. So, you don't play Lamar in those elements. But the point I'm trying to make is, you got 2 weeks to assess Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is not playing this Steelers game. Today's Thursday. You just signed him. He hasn't had a practice. You're still probably going to work him out because, he should be in game shape. He's been on a roster, so he should be in game shape. I don't think he plays against the Steelers. Now, if he does, cool. Maybe we can get a little early look at Dalvin Cook and how he'll fit in this offense. But I don't think because it's Thursday, I don't think he's going to be playing in a Saturday game. Maybe if it was on a Sunday, maybe. But you already have Melvin Gordon. But this game doesn't mean anything to the Ravens. So ideally, this could be a game to test out Dalvin Cook if he's ready. You know what I'm saying? If he's ready, because if you're just gonna work him out, sign him to work him out, you might as well see what he looks like in game action. The Steelers are a perfect team because they play a physical style of football. You're gonna get that in the playoffs. The game slows down in the playoffs. You're gonna get more physicalness. So getting Dalvin Cook against the Steelers to see what he looks like would be ideal. I just don't think because it's on a Saturday that's gonna happen. So realistically, we're probably not gonna see Dalvin Cook until that playoff game, and he's probably not even gonna be used a lot. You know what I'm saying? You claim a guy off of waivers, I don't think he's gonna be used a whole lot here. Because you already got Gus Edwards, you already got Justice Hill, you got Melvin Gordon. These guys have been on the roster for the entire year. They know the offense, they know the playbook. So to sit there and say Dalvin Cook is coming in and he's gonna be your number 2 running back, doesn't make sense because he hasn't played with the team. He's just getting acclimated to the playbook. He has no chemistry with Lamar Jackson as far as the RPO is concerned, and that's a concern because when you do the RPO plays, it's either a fake handoff or a fake handoff and go. With the quarterback, those exchanges that you have with the running back are very important. And because he has not played with the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, it's unreasonable to assume that he's just going to be your number 2 running back over guys that have been on the team for the whole year. So reality is this is just a depth move. Does it move the needle? It could. If one of the running backs get injured, he's a serviceable running back, yes. But it's not a move the needle type of move where you insert him into the starting lineup. That's not what this is. I'm sorry for anybody that read the headline that Dalvin Cook is signed with. He's not taking over Gus Edwards. We know that. We know that. So that's not going to happen. So what he gives you is he's going to be your number 3 running back. I think he's going to take Melvin because he's better than Melvin Gordon. Let's be real. He's better than Melvin Gordon. He's fresher than Well, they both fresh because neither one of them has really played. Melvin Gordon has been on the practice field almost the entire season. He's got in there a couple games, but he's been on a practice squad. And Dalvin Cook has been on a roster, but he hasn't been playing much. So reality is both of them should be fresh, but he's not going to be your second running back. I can already tell you how they're going to use him. Whoever they play in the playoffs, which we'll get to in a second. They're gonna wear you down with Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, and once your defense is worn down, they're gonna probably bring in a fresh Dalvin Cook with fresh legs, and probably hasn't played much in that game, and he's just gonna gut check you because he's fresh and your defense is not. He's gonna gut check you. That's how they're gonna use him. I don't see him getting 10 touches. I don't see him. I see on a second down maybe. After the first down, you throw him in there against a tired defense, assuming the Ravens are winning that game, and you run Dalvin Cook down their throat for a few times. You know what I'm saying? Until Edwards or Hill caught they win or whatever and got back in there and they're fresh. That's how you use Dalvin Cook. No one is expecting Dalvin Cook to get 20 carries. They don't even do that with the current running backs. Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, they split carries. Gus Edwards is not getting 25 carries a game. So we already know Dalvin Cook's not doing that. Is Dalvin Cook going to get 2 touches, 3 touches a game? Probably. And if he makes the most out of those 2 to 3 touches, this signing is well worth it. This signing is well worth it just in terms of depth. You don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. A running back could get injured. Dalvin Cook is definitely serviceable to get into a starting role if your starting running back goes down. Definitely. He's been a starter his whole career except this year. So we already know if he needs to step in because of an injury, we already know what he can do. And I'm very confident that if that happened, God forbid it does not happen where Edwards or Justice Hill get hurt, he can slide right in there and he can be productive. You feel me? So, all right, let me get to the comments here. Cook probably only signed with the Jets because of Rodgers. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think that was because of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you played against him so many times in Minnesota when you played Green Bay. You already, I mean, even if you don't play, you know the greatness of Aaron Rodgers. And when Aaron Rodgers signed with the Jets, it was like everybody was talking about the Jets going to the Super Bowl, not realizing that just because you slap Aaron Rodgers on the team doesn't mean that it's a guaranteed championship, even though that defense was pretty good. He was third string. He was getting touches like I think he was a second string though, if I'm not mistaken. I'm glad we got Michael Carter from the Jets. The Jets always get stolen because they got rid of Joe Flacco, and look at what Joe Flacco's doing for the Browns. Like you've had talent on your roster, and you don't know how to use it, or you let them go. Dalvin Cook is an example of that. Joe Flacco, even though no one predicted Joe Flacco would be, you know what I'm saying, no one thought Joe Flacco would be doing what he's doing. And we'll talk about Joe Flacco in a second here. You know, as a running back, you hit a certain age. How old is Dalvin Cook, though? Dalvin Cook is only what? He ain't 30 yet, is he? Yeah, Dalvin Cook is only 28. So that's another thing. Like, he hasn't even hit the 30-year-old wall yet. Here's another thing that no one's talking about why this may be a sneaky good move. Not that he's locked up for a long-term deal, because the Jets only signed him to a one-year deal. We don't know what's going to happen with J.K. Dobbins. This was his he's been on the roster since 2020, so he's in his 4th year now. He's going to be a free agent after this season, and this was his year to get paid. That's why he wanted to get paid so bad at the beginning of the season, because this is his last year. Now he's out with another injury. We don't know if the Ravens are going to sign J.K. We don't even know what kind of money J.K. is looking for because of the injury now. He may be looking for big dollars, but he ain't been playing. So if they don't get a deal with J.K. Dobbins, you got Dalvin Cook, who's more established than J.K. I think when J.K. is healthy at his peak, J.K. Dobbins is up there with Dalvin Cook. If you look at J.K. Dobbins' 2020 year, his rookie year, he was going crazy. Everybody had high hopes for J.K. Dobbins until that injury in 2021, the preseason. J.K. Dobbins can ball, but the problem is we haven't seen enough of it yet to really validate that. And that's the thing. We can say J.K. Dobbins is good at this and J.K. Dobbins good at that, but we don't know because he's injured. So because we don't know what's going on with that, and because this is his last year, you got Dalvin Cook on your roster now. On top of the fact, I don't think they're going to bring J.K. back because I think they really like Gus Edwards, and I think they love Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell would have been your starting running back next year, guaranteed, if he didn't get hurt. Now, because he got hurt, I don't know if he's going to be your starting running back next year. But you can tell the explosiveness of Keaton Mitchell. That was going to be, J.K. Dobbins was not going to be coming back next year, in my opinion, based on the injury and the fact this was his last year. You're not going to sign a running back that had 2 season-ending injuries in J.K. Dobbins. As you mentioned, Jason, he's a running back. Now, J.K. is still young, but he's still a running back with 2 season-ending injuries. If the Ravens were going to sign him, it was going to be to a cheap deal. Is J.K. going to accept a cheap deal, though? Or is he going to sign maybe like a short prove-it deal, a 1 or 2 year deal where he could, coming off the injury, he could look good and then sign a bigger contract? But then again, who's going to sign a running back to a bigger contract when he's damn near 30, 31? Unless J.K. is really balling out. But even if he balls out, the Titans were thinking about shopping Derrick Henry. Look at what Derrick Henry has done for the franchise. Yet he was being shopped. So running backs don't stay with teams for 9, 10 years anymore. Those days are over. Those days are over where you get like Adrian Peterson and LaDainian Tomlinson and all those kind of guys, Clinton Portis, Jamal Lewis, Jerome Bettis. You don't get those kind of guys anymore that are going to stay with one franchise for a long time. The ceiling is 5 or 6 years tops. You hit 30 and then it's like, okay, we know you're on the back end of your career now. It's not like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Peyton Manning when they play until 38, 39 years old. This is a running back. Running backs don't last that long. That's why I was very impressed to see Adrian Peterson play for the Commanders. He's been bouncing around the line, you know what I'm saying? And still being productive, because that doesn't normally happen. All right. You already know the running. Okay, that's how you turn ACL, by playing Lamar Jackson and a wintry mix that doesn't matter. Yeah. I would never put Lamar Jackson in this kind of game against the Steelers. The game don't mean anything, and it's gonna be a mess outside, weather-wise. Why would you put Lamar Jackson in a situation where you know the Steelers are fighting for their playoff lives? They had to win this game and get help to get into the playoffs. So they're gonna crack Lamar. If they get a chance to crack Lamar, they're going to crack him. And you just can't risk that in that kind of conditions in a game that doesn't matter. So I wouldn't even put, so them decide not to put Lamar out there was a great move. It don't make sense to put Lamar Jackson in an environment where there's no game. He's already locked up the MVP. Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey are not playing. So if you think Lamar Jackson is already your MVP and then Brock Purdy and McCaffrey are not playing, it's safe to say that Lamar Jackson is your MVP. Now, you know some people are going to say, oh, if Josh Allen has a great game against Miami, Josh Allen is going to take Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson didn't even play his last game. The MVP race is already locked up. Even if Josh Allen beats the Dolphins and he looks good, the MVP race is already locked up. All Josh Allen will be doing is closing the gap. Instead of Lamar Jackson being up here and the next person being here, Josh Allen may make it like right here if he has a good seat, but it's already wrapped up. You know what I'm saying? This team is better than, yes, this team is better than the 2019 team. You know, so yes, they have more veterans on this team. They have players that, like, don't even get me started with Earl Thomas about what happened in that game. Derrick Henry just abused Earl Thomas. Like, we have a more of a leadership with Roquan, Jadeveon Clowney, Kyle Van Noy, Marcus Williams. We have veterans. We have veterans on the offense. You know what I'm saying? We got OBJ. We got not Linderbaum. We got Zeitler. We got Ronnie Stanley, who's been with this team. We got veterans on this team now. This team is a lot different. So I don't think we're going to see a repeat of 2013, but it also depends on who the opponent is, which we'll get into in a second, because the opponent also matters. That year against Tennessee, unfortunately, we ran against a team that plays like us. They're a run-heavy team and a quarterback that can make plays when needed. And Ryan Tannehill, when he needed to, he made plays. But Derrick Henry was running all over us. So the Tennessee Titans that year played like the Ravens. I was like, damn, this is not a good matchup for us because they can run the ball. You know what I'm saying? Our secondary was good that year. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, ugh. It don't matter if you're run. But the thing is, we got Kyle Hamilton, we got Marcus Williams, we got we got players. Roquan. This is a different team that can tackle. So I don't think it's gonna be a repeat. They can put him as a receiver too. Are you talking about Dalvin Cook or are we talking about Melvin Gordon? The Jets are like the Raiders. J.K. been hurt every year, exactly, but he wants a contract. That's why he was trying to get a contract before the season started. Now imagine if the Ravens gave J.K. a contract and then this happened. He got hurt. You see what I'm saying? Imagine that. J.K. signed a deal with the Ravens and then the very first game he gets hurt for the year. The Ravens learned their lesson with that. That's what happened with Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley in 2020 signed that huge deal. Or was it 2021? It might have been 2021. I can't remember what year it was. No, it was pandemic. It was 2020. He signed that huge deal. The very next game after that contract, he was done for the season. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, of course, I was concerned for Ronnie Stanley's health, but it's just like, damn, you just signed that mega deal, and then you got hurt. So, I'm sorry, my sinuses are bothering me. My bad. So the Ravens already know they learned their lesson. We're not going to sign you with an injury history. And JK has had 2 of them now. So they knew better. They knew better. I love JK as a person. I really do. When they drafted him, I remember saying, I love this guy. I love his personality. And then he was a good running back at Ohio, so I love this guy. So it's nothing against JK as a person. It's more against JK on the field. He can't stay healthy. We got lucky with James Conner. He's been healthy ever since he had the one injury. Yeah. I never thought James Conner was a great running back, though, at least with the Steelers. But then again, he never had great games against us. But so maybe that's why I said that. I never thought James, but yeah. James Conner had an injury history. You guys got him. I mean, that's like a diamond in the rough. You got lucky, though, because of his history. You got a healthy James Conner. That's good for you guys. Josh Allen shouldn't win. Jason the Great. I know that, you know that. You go look at the comment section and look at how many people are vouching for Josh Allen. Go look at other videos about MVP and people are actually talking about Josh Allen. And I'm like, okay, he has good touchdown numbers, yes. But you're not going to give an MVP to a guy that has 6 losses. And some of those losses were on him. That Jets game week 1, they should have never lost that game with Aaron Rodgers going down. That should have been a win for them. He threw like 3 interceptions that game. He's the reason why they lost that game. There's been a few other games where Josh Allen lost the game. I can only remember one game where Lamar Jackson was the reason why we lost. And that was the Steelers game. And even in that Steelers game, they were dropping the ball. They dropped the ball in the Steelers game. So it was a combination of Lamar and the receivers. Because Lamar threw that one bad red zone interception. It was like, oh my God, Lamar, why you throw that? So yeah. So Josh Allen. So if you're gonna say he's the MVP, you got to give me a valid reason other than just numbers. And I'm not gonna get into this conversation about MVP on this stream too much. But Lamar Jackson has good numbers. He's on the winningest team. He's never had to put up great numbers because the Ravens always have the lead in the fourth quarter. So of course, if you have the lead in the fourth quarter, you're more likely to run the ball. What's up, Brandon Beans? What's goody? So because you have the lead in the fourth quarter so many times, Lamar Jackson is essentially only playing 3 quarters of football. Like, think about it. Lamar, because you're usually running the percentage of, I don't know the number, but just the eye test, the percentage of running plays versus passing plays in the fourth quarter for the Ravens is, I'm sure it's like a 70-30 split, because the Ravens are always winning in the fourth quarter. Lamar Jackson doesn't need to throw the ball a lot. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, Lamar Jackson is playing 3.5 quarters, while quarterbacks like Josh Allen are playing 4 quarters. So his numbers are always going to be so amazing because he hasn't had to throw the ball much in the last quarter. So because he's winning. So Lamar Jackson's already locked up his case for MVP. It doesn't matter what Josh Allen does. So Josh Allen is not going to win the MVP. Not against a Lamar Jackson who has 13 wins. Oh, Dalvin Cook can catch out the backfield. Yeah, he can. He can. So getting back to Dalvin Cook, what this is, what does it mean with the Ravens? He's going to be your number 3 running back. It's going to be Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, Dalvin Cook. I'm pretty sure Melvin Gordon is going back to the practice squad after this Steelers game. I don't think Dalvin Cook is playing in this Steelers game. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. I doubt that he's going to play. So he's going to be your 3rd string running back in the playoffs, and he's just going to be a depth piece unless somebody gets hurt in that game, where he's going to elevate himself to the... I mean, the Ravens have aspirations of going far. So we're not just talking about one game here. You know, of course, the Ravens have to win whatever game that is. But the Ravens are thinking, with this team, they're thinking long term. So we're talking about Dalvin Cook for at least the divisional, the championship, the Super Bowl. So we're talking about Dalvin Cook for at least 3 games in their minds. So he's a depth piece. So if any one of the running backs get injured or done for the playoffs, Dalvin Cook can slide right in there and be your guy. That's what this move does. And you know, as an insurance policy, Dalvin Cook can give you everything you need because he plays like Gus Edwards. He's a guy that can move the chains. You know what I'm saying? He's a physical running back. So we already know what Dalvin Cook is. You know what I'm saying? We already know that. So we know he can step into that role and be great. The reason why he wasn't that good in New York is because they don't have a good offensive line. Aaron Rodgers got hurt because their offensive line stinks. You know what I'm saying? So Zach Wilson's not good, but I'm not gonna sit there and say, you know, Zach Wilson, the reason he's not good because of the offensive line. Zach Wilson's not good. You know what I'm saying? So you put him behind an offensive line that knows how to block, and the scheme is pretty good for running backs. Dalvin Cook should eat. You know, so if in the event that he needs to step in as a number 1 guy, you can throw Dalvin Cook in there, and you know he's going to be productive. So that's what this means. The Ravens have aspirations of going far. This isn't just for the divisional game. This is for conference championship and hopefully Super Bowl. You know, Dalvin Cook for 3 games, he should be able to give you some production as an insurance policy. What is going on here? What the fuck? So yeah. So that's what this move means. It doesn't mean that he's taking Gus Edwards' spot. It doesn't mean that he's taking Justice Hill's spot. This just means he's going to be your third option, and that's what it is. All right, let's get into the actual article here, so you guys can see. And then we're going to move on to some of the other stuff that I want to talk about. Let's get into it. All right, Ravens signing Dalvin Cook, 4-time Pro Bowler, to join the Ravens for their postseason run. All right, so real quick, I wanted to say something real fast about Dalvin Cook. The Jets are going to be paying Dalvin Cook's $6.8 million this season. So they released him. They're going to be paying his contract. So I don't know what the deal is with the Ravens in terms of, but we already know it's not a lot of money, because the Jets are going to be paying the money. They released him, he cleared waivers. The Jets got to eat that. The Jets are going to eat that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he cleared waivers. That's why I think really nobody claimed him off of waivers, because then you would have to pay him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think nobody was going to. I thought the Browns were going to take him off of waivers because of Nick Chubb, but you know, they didn't. And if I had to choose between, if I'm Dalvin Cook, if I had to choose between the Browns or the Ravens to sign with, I'm going to sign with the Ravens. One, there's a need there, and two, the Ravens, in my eyes, are a better team. So, a more complete team. Plus, the Browns have to play week 1 of the playoffs. So Dalvin Cook can rest a little bit, get used to the playbook, and be ready to go for that first game in the divisional round. So there's advantages to signing with the Ravens over other teams that may have to play in the first week of the playoffs. I don't think no one's actually thinking about that with Dalvin Cook. Like, exactly, Jason, exactly. So the Ravens are probably going to go. I mean, who knows? The Browns are a very good team, and we're going to get into the possibility of Joe Flacco coming back to Baltimore in a playoff game, because realistically, that might actually happen. And I'm about to get into that in a second about the possibility you couldn't write a script. That's why when people say NFL is scripted, I can see how. Joe Flacco signs with the Browns in the middle of the season. He's balling out. It's a potential that the Browns could play the Ravens in Baltimore. Joe Flacco's return to Baltimore, and there's a possibility he could ball out and beat the Ravens and take them to another Super Bowl. It's crazy, right? Like, Hollywood can't even script that. Like, if Joe Flacco signs with the Browns of all teams, a team that he used to just wear out when he was in Baltimore, he signs with that team. They go to Baltimore in a playoff game, and Joe Flacco, with that defense and those receivers and Njoku, they beat the Ravens. That's crazy, right? But we'll talk about that in a second. Like, it's a possibility if they handle business in their first playoff game against whoever that is. Oh no, nah. It's not up in the air. It's not. It can be. You gave Deshaun Watson all that guaranteed money. Deshaun Watson is your starting quarterback. Deshaun Watson is your starting quarterback going forward. As much as Joe Flacco has balled out, they may decide to keep Joe Flacco on the roster, but Joe Flacco is not taking Deshaun Watson's spot. Even though he's played better than Deshaun Watson, you can't give a guy all that guaranteed money and then say Joe Flacco's our starter next year. That's crazy. Even though ideally it makes sense because Joe Flacco's balling, but Deshaun Watson is younger and he's making more guaranteed money, way more money than Flacco. So unless you trade Watson to a team, but first of all, why would you do that? I get that Joe Flacco's balling right now, but why would you trade Watson to have Joe Flacco be your starter? And Joe Flacco's almost 40 years old. How old is Joe Flacco? Let's just look for shits and giggles. How old is Joe Flacco? Joe Flacco is 38 years old. You guys can't see it right now, but Joe Flacco is 38 years old. If you trade Deshaun Watson from the Browns to whoever to elevate Joe Flacco as your starter, a 38-year-old guy, what that tells me is that, one, you think Joe Flacco is better than Deshaun Watson at this current moment, which is crazy. But it tells me that you don't think Deshaun Watson is worth that contract. And then you got to find somebody to eat that contract. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wanted to give Deshaun Watson a guaranteed contract at all. So to say a team is going to eat most of that contract up, or all of it, is crazy. You know what I'm saying? The Raiders would do it. Because he's better than Jimmy G. I promise you that. He's better than Jimmy G. He's better than Jimmy G. You feel me? He's better than Jimmy G. You know what I'm saying? Would the Raiders do something like that? They probably could. They would be the only team stupid enough to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. A healthy Deshaun Watson with Davante Adams. Excuse me? Excuse me. That is filthy. And I'm not poo-pooing Amari Cooper, because Amari Cooper can ball. But Deshaun Watson and Davante Adams, stop it. It's not even fair. It's not even fair what those two can do. But if the Browns trade Deshaun Watson to elevate Flacco, that's stupid. That's stupid. That's really dumb. And I get it. I get that you haven't got your money's worth with Deshaun Watson since you gave him that contract. But you already knew he was going to miss all of 2021. So you already knew that. He was already suspended. 2022 he got hurt. Oh, he wasn't healthy. I'm sorry. He had the suspension at first. And then he didn't look good because he hadn't played football in so long. So he didn't look good last year. This year he was average. He had some good game. He had a good game against the Ravens in the second half after having a terrible start. But he hasn't looked like a $230 million guarantee guy since he's been there. So if you're going to trade him with that kind of contract after a couple years, then that, for Joe Flacco of all people, that's saying something. That's saying something. Yo, Hassan, what's goody? So to say that their quarterback situation is up in the air is interesting. I don't think it is, because if you really gonna go with Joe Flacco, then I would like to know what the Browns. I mean, maybe they think they can win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years with Joe Flacco. That's over Deshaun Watson. Maybe that's. I mean, I don't know. Matthew Stafford might go back to Detroit. Yes, me and Noam were talking about that the other day, about because the way it's looking, the Rams are gonna be playing the Lions. And I was like, Noam, are you scared that Matthew Stafford may come back to Detroit and beat y'all? Because I ain't gonna lie to you. I think that the Rams are a better team than the Lions. The Rams have been rolling right now. And given how they played against us, they showed me that they got a roster and a coach that knows how to win. I would not be surprised if the Rams play the Lions, the Rams win that game. One is inside of a dome. Matthew Stafford, you already know he know how to play in a dome. No cold weather. He got receiver. He got Cooper Kupp. He got Puka. I'm sorry we say his name wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. They got Aaron Donald on defense. They got a coach that knows how to win. I wouldn't be surprised if I seen Matthew Stafford and the Rams go into Detroit and beat them. I would not be shocked. I think they're playing better than the Lions. I think they have a better quarterback than the Lions. I think they have a better receiving core than the Lions. They have a better coach. A more innovative coach. I'm not knocking Dan Campbell at all. I'm just saying that Sean McVay is a better coach. Who the hell the Browns beat? They beat the Ravens. You know what I'm saying? That was they beat the 49ers, even though the 49ers weren't healthy. The Browns beat some teams this year. The Browns beat the two best teams in the league. Even though we beat the Browns earlier, it was no Watson playing, but the Browns beat the Ravens, they beat the 49ers. They beaten some teams. So you can't poo-poo the Browns and be like, oh, they're not going to do anything with Joe Flacco. Even though since Joe Flacco's been there, they haven't really played nobody. They played Houston with no C.J. Stroud. They played the Jets, and I can't remember who the other team they played since Joe Flacco's been there. They haven't played nobody. So on one end, you could be like, okay, Joe Flacco was. Can we get the camera on me, please? Joe Flacco was balling, yes, but he hasn't played anything. Like the Texans defense is good. You know what I'm saying? But the Texans as a team is not good without CJ Stroud. The Jets are the Jets. And I forgot who the other team. Let me check. Who was the other team that that the Browns played since Flacco got there? They played the Bears, and they had to come back. They were losing that game against the Bears. They were losing 17-7 against the Bears into the fourth quarter, and Joe Flacco made a comeback. The Bears at home, you had to come back. So, and then you played the Jaguars. You haven't played anybody, and then you lost to the Rams. You lost to the Rams. I think that was Joe Flacco's first or second game that when he signed. You haven't played nobody. The Jaguars are the Jaguars. Cool, that might be a good win. But you haven't played nobody. So Joe Flacco, I mean, so I'm not shitting on Joe Flacco, but you have to be real and say, since Joe Flacco's been there, they haven't played anybody. They haven't played a playoff team other than the Rams, and they lost against the Rams. I mean, the Jaguars, they may make the playoffs, they may not. But the Jaguars aren't good if Trevor Lawrence isn't healthy. So I don't know. You said trade him for a top pick and then get a quarterback and let him sit, and then he can sit under Joe Flacco. Yeah, it's just a matter of who's gonna take on that contract from Deshaun Watson. Jimmy G gonna be in GQ. Oh boy, don't even get me started with Jimmy G. That would be annoying. The Rams might. They could. I don't think they're going to beat the 49ers, but I think they're going to beat the Lions. I think the Rams are better than the Lions. I think the Rams are better than the Cowboys. I'm not 100% sure if I think the Rams. Well, let me take that back. I don't think the Rams are better than the Cowboys. I think the Rams can match up with the Cowboys. I do. I don't know if they're better than the Cowboys. I'm not sure if they're better than the Eagles, but the thing about it is they can get with those teams though. It's not like if they play Dallas or they play Lions or they played the Eagles that they would get blown out. The Rams can hang with any. The only team that I think that can really beat them is the 49ers. So the Rams could get to the Super Bowl if all the cards align and they get the right matchup. I think they're going to beat the Lions. If it's a guarantee that they're going to play the Lions, I think they can beat the Lions. They can beat the Cowboys. But I think their second game, I got to look at the playoff. We're going to get ready to look at that in a second. I think their second game would be against the 49ers. It depends on what seed they end up in. I got to double check that. But anyway, let's before I get into the playoff, let's get to the injury report, because that's what I was initially going to talk about today until this news about Dalvin Cook came out. So as far as who's not playing in this Pittsburgh Steelers game, we're going to look at that right now. So obviously OBJ, you don't need to. OBJ is for the playoffs. No one is thinking OBJ was going to play in a meaningless game. We need OBJ, a healthy OBJ, for the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? He's had little knickknacks in here and there, so rest him. Marlon Humphrey got injured in the Miami game. He's not playing. Lamar Jackson, I made a video about that yesterday. Lamar Jackson's not playing. Which given the elements, we already knew that. Kevin Zeitler, Daryl Worley is not playing. Malik Harris is not playing. Zay Flowers is doubtful. And shout out to, who is this? This is who's in this? This is from the Ravens. Okay, this is the official Ravens. I'm sorry, I don't want to give credit to who it was. It's from the Ravens. So we already know Lamar Jackson was not going to play this game. Malik Harrison, that was kind of interesting. OBJ is not. I mean, that's obvious. Marlon Humphrey is obvious. You know what I'm saying? So this game is meaningless. The only question I want to know was Dalvin Cook going to play this game? Considering it's a Saturday game, I don't think Dalvin Cook is playing this game. You know, that would be nice to see him get some action and get the bulk of the carries and against the Steelers. We'll see. I haven't heard. I mean, this news just came out about Dalvin Cook signing. So I don't know. I don't know if the Ravens had a press conference or anything, but I'm really curious to find out if Dalvin Cook is playing in this Steelers game. I doubt it. He just signed. You got until Friday. You got a Friday practice. You got a game on Saturday. I don't think that's enough time for Dalvin Cook to get into the game and play, to know anything to play. but at the same time, you have nothing to play for. So maybe you do throw Dalvin Cook out there and let him do his thing and see what you got in game action. Maybe that's what you go with. The game don't mean anything. It could mean something for Dalvin Cook though. I just don't think that there's enough time to get him acclimated to get into this game. Okay, I want to get into, this is what I wanted to get into. I want to get into the injury, but I want to get into this playoff picture because we kind of touched on already about the possibility of Joe Flacco playing the Ravens in the playoffs. But I want to get into the playoff picture, so let me get that back up. And then we're going to talk about this because this is interesting. This is interesting. Like I said, there's still some things to be decided. So it's not like we're getting like this is the full thing. But we're just talking about potentially who the Ravens may play in the first round. Give me a second. I had it up here and I guess I took it off for a second. Let me get that up. The possibility of what could happen here. And Jason, I think you're gonna be very intrigued with this one. I had it up here. Well, I'm trying to find it. Give me a second, y'all. I had it up here and I must have went away. I don't know where I put it at. Okay. Nonetheless, let's get into it. So, let me shrink the screen a little bit so you guys can see. So as it stands right now, this is what we're looking like. This is what we're looking at right now, which is today is Thursday. What's today's date? The January the 4th. AFC Ravens #1 seed. The Dolphins are the #2 seed right now, but the game against Buffalo will determine seeding. Somebody's going to be 4, somebody's going to be 2, and that game is for the division winner. So that'll be interesting to see. And I think that game is in Miami, so Miami has home field advantage. So we'll see how that goes. The Browns are locked into. Well, wait, what we got here? See, hold up. Let me see how they got this. This wasn't the one I was looking at. Oh, it was this one. We're going now. Okay, this is what I was looking at. Okay, here we go. All right, so if the playoffs start today, I gotta shrink this again. If the playoffs start today, this is what we're looking at. Can y'all see that on the screen? Just wanna make sure. Okay. So the Ravens and the 49ers got a bye week. As it stands right now, of course, we're gonna talk more about this once we get concrete information about what's going on here after Sunday. So the first round, we're gonna knock Seattle out. Well, Kyler Murray balled. He played who he beat last week? He beat the Eagles, right? Kyler Murray has something to play for. Even though the Cardinals don't have nothing to play for, Kyler Murray has something to play for. He was out majority of the year. You know what I'm saying? So he's getting back into playing shape. And how he plays this last game and how he's played since he's been back will determine how they view him going forward next season. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he is your franchise guy, but that doesn't mean it's a definite. The Cardinals are going to have a high draft pick, so they can they're not going to go a quarterback, I doubt, unless they feel like Kyler Murray isn't it. Which, since he's been back, he's been playing good enough for you to think that he's good. They gotta get a defense around him. They gotta up that defense, and and Kyler Murray. As long as Kyler Murray got protection, he's good. You need an offensive line around Kyler Murray because you don't want him to be injured again. So you need to surround Kyler Murray with a offensive line that won't get him taking so many hits. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Exactly. You need an offensive line. Exactly. Because you can't have your quarterback coming off an injury, give him a shitty offensive line, and he gets hurt again, and then yeah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so anyway, let me stay on topic here. So as of right now, the AFC South is still up for grabs right now. And I think the division is still, so Jaguars are holding on to that, but I think the Texans and the Colts can be that division winner depending on what happens on this weekend. And I gotta look into it in detail. But right now you got Miami and the Colts. If this stands, I'm picking the Miami Dolphins to win that game. Even though Gardner Minshew has been balling out this year. This one is a good one. Buffalo at Kansas City as your first playoff matchup. This is a good one. Under no circumstance, well, let me not say that because there is a circumstance. Let me be quiet. I like this matchup as it stands because for the Ravens to get to the Super Bowl, we need some of these teams that we know have experience to be eliminated. If Buffalo or Kansas City gets out of the first round, like eliminated, that's one less team the Ravens got to worry about. We trying to get to the Super Bowl here. So Kansas City and Buffalo beating up on each other in the first round is good for the Ravens. I'd rather them beat up on each other than beat up against other teams that we already know they're gonna beat. Like for example, I'd rather have Miami going against the Colts. I'd rather have Buffalo and Kansas City going against each other than Buffalo going against Jacksonville, Kansas City going against the Colts, because we already know the outcome there. But the fact that they gotta play each other, they can beat up each other. I actually got Buffalo winning that game, believe it or not. Even though Patrick Mahomes is very good in the postseason, I got Buffalo. If that matchup stands, I got Buffalo winning that game. And then if that happens, and if that happens, and Miami beats, if Miami beats the Colts and the Browns beat the Jaguars, then we would have a matchup of Ravens versus Buffalo, Miami versus Cleveland. I like that matchup for us. I think we can beat the Buffalo Bills because Josh Allen plays like Lamar Jackson in a way. So we should know how to defend him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if Kansas City beats Buffalo and Jacksonville, the Cleveland beats Jacksonville and the Dolphins beat the Colts, then that means the Browns will have to come to Baltimore. I don't like that matchup as our first opponent. I don't. That's going to remind me of 2019 when the Tennessee came to Baltimore. The Browns play a similar style like the Ravens in terms of running the ball, playing good defense. I don't like the Browns playing the Ravens as a first matchup at all. I would rather play Buffalo. Shit, I'd rather even play Kansas City. But I don't think we're going to be playing Kansas City I don't think that's how it works. If Miami handles business, Miami is going to play and Miami would play Kansas City. I'd rather play Buffalo or I'd rather play Jacksonville before I play Browns. I think we would beat the Bills too. So if my prediction is correct, if I'm predicting Miami to beat Indianapolis and Buffalo, and like I said, none of this is final yet because we don't know exactly who Miami is playing. We don't even know if. Well, here's the funny part about all of this. We're talking about Miami being the division leader right now. If Buffalo goes into Miami and beats the Dolphins, then all of this changes. Then Buffalo will have the number 2 seed. And that's where it gets funny. That's where it gets funny at because none of what we're talking about matters here. Now, if Miami beats Buffalo and this stands the way it stands, I'd rather play Buffalo. But for some reason, I got a feeling our first round opponent is going to be the Browns. I don't know what it is, but I got a feeling. I got a feeling somewhere in my bones that the Ravens' first opponent is going to be the Browns. And because, like I said, I don't buy into the fact that the NFL is scripted, but I feel like in some way, somehow, it's scripted for the Joe Flacco to come back to Baltimore to play the Ravens in a playoff game where we know playoff Joe is no joke. You don't fuck around with playoff Joe. We know that as a Ravens fan. You don't fuck around with playoff Joe. Even in 2014, when Joe Flacco went against the Patriots, he balled out. The reason why the Ravens lost that game against the Patriots is because the Ravens blew two 14-point leads. Joe Flacco did his thing. You don't fuck around with playoff Joe. And if Cleveland comes in there after winning their first game and come into Baltimore on a hot Joe Flacco, now everybody that I talk to always is saying like, well, there's no way that the Ravens are a better team. I think the Ravens are a better team, even though because it took a magical comeback for them to beat us the last time. The Ravens on that defense dropped 28 points the first game, 31 points the second game. So we already shown that we can move the ball on that defense. is whether our defense can stop them. That's the thing. Our defense did not stop them in that last game. Deshaun Watson was balling. Njoku was balling. You know what I'm saying? And then our offense got stale. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. You know Joe Flacco can ball out in the playoffs. That's not a matchup that I want. Now, I want to see how Joe Flacco looks in that whatever team he plays first. I want to see how Joe Flacco looks in that first game. Because if it's the playoff Joe like we know, that's going to be interesting for the Ravens. The Ravens are the best team in this league, the best team on this screen right now. The problem is, as you all know, the NFL is all about matchups. And the best possible matchups for the Ravens are Buffalo, Kansas City, Jacksonville, or the Colts. Any other team that I did not mention is a problem for the Ravens. Even though we beat Miami, Miami is still poses a threat. Because if you watch that game, Miami was moving the ball against the Ravens. Now kudos to the Ravens for making adjustments, but they didn't have Jalen Waddle. If the Ravens play Miami again, that's still a matchup that we don't want to see, at least as our first opponent. The Browns, because they play defense and they can run the ball, and you got playoff Joe going crazy, doing what playoff Joe knows. We all know playoff Joe to be. So the Browns, and it's funny because I like you would normally think on a regular year I would say the Chiefs are a problem. I don't think the Chiefs are that good this year. I don't. The receivers dropped the ball. Kelsey isn't having a breakout season. The Ravens could beat the Chiefs this year. I think we could beat the Chiefs. I think we could beat Buffalo. I think we already beat Jacksonville. I don't think Jacksonville is going to make the playoffs. I don't. I think they do have an easy opponent though, if I'm not mistaken. Who do they play? Who do they play this season? Who do they play? They play the Titans. So they're probably gonna win that game. So they'll probably get into the playoffs because they're playing the Titans, but who knows? You don't want to play any team more. Exactly. That's the problem. And if we play the Browns, that's our third time playing the Browns this year. Now you've seen, they've already seen Lamar Jackson numerous times because of we play the same division every single year. We're in the same division. Now you get to see Lamar Jackson 3 times. Now, granted, we know Joe Flacco. That's the thing. Because Joe Flacco used to play for the Ravens. We know what Joe Flacco can do. So that's the thing with us. They may know Lamar, we know Joe. And we know what they can do because we would play them 3 times as well. The problem is the Browns have a similar style like the Ravens. Joe Flacco is good on play action bootlegs. What do they do with Joe Flacco in the Kevin Stefanski offense? Joe Flacco and bootlegs. Joe Flacco loves the tight end. If you're a Ravens fan, you already know this. Dennis Pitta, Ed Dixon. You know what I'm saying? Joe Flacco loves tight ends. So we know how to defend. We know Joe Flacco's tendencies as well. So, but that's still a matchup I don't want to see in the first round. Well, not first round, our first playoff team. I think Patrick Mahomes is a good matchup for us because I don't like his receiving core, and our secondary is pretty good. I think Buffalo is a good matchup because Josh Allen is turnover prone, and the Ravens lead the league in turnovers and creating turnovers. So I think that Josh Allen, being the turnover machine that he can be at times, I like that matchup. I like the Colts. Even though they beat us, I like the Colts as a matchup because I don't think they're going to beat us twice. If Jacksonville gets in, I like that matchup. The only teams I would be concerned is Miami and Cleveland. That's it. And if the chips fall where they are, and we don't have to play either one of those teams, I think the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl. I think the Ravens could still go to the Super Bowl even if they played those teams, but they would really have to play their best ball to beat Miami a second time and beat Cleveland a second time. Especially the third time meeting. Like you said, We play Miami already, so that's the second time again. The only teams that we have not played would be Buffalo. We didn't play Kansas City this year. Out of all the teams that are possibly going to the playoffs, it would be Buffalo, Kansas City. We played Houston already. We played Jacksonville already. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are getting to the playoffs, and the AFC West is already decided. So the only teams that we could potentially play that we have not played already is Buffalo, Kansas City, Buffalo and Kansas City. That's it. Because we played Miami, we played Cleveland, we played Jacksonville, we played Indy, we played Houston. And if the Steelers get in, we play the Steelers. So we've already played. So there's only 2 teams on this list that. So if the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to play a team that they already played before. We already know that, because Kansas City and Buffalo are probably going to play. Well, let me take that back, because it depends on who wins that game between Miami and Buffalo to determine who Kansas City is going to play. But if it stays like this, Kansas City and Buffalo are going to cancel each other out. There's only one winner in that game, so that would leave it to one team that the Ravens have not played. That would be either Kansas City or Buffalo. So whoever the Ravens play in the playoffs, they're going to see them for a second or third time. So that's the problem here. I mean, it's not a problem because they've seen us, we've seen them. It works both ways. So it's not like, okay, we've seen Lamar Jackson already, so it's like we already know how to deal with him. You got to forget, Lamar Jackson's a wild card because of the fact that he can run and throw the ball and you don't know what he's going to do. You can play against him, but that don't mean you know how to stop him. Everybody said, oh, the 49ers defense is so great. Fred Warner is so great, and he is great. Look what Lamar Jackson did to Fred Warner in the open field on that one running play. Fred Warner didn't know what to do. I mean, Lamar Jackson did make one juke and he was gone. So just because you played Lamar Jackson does not mean you know how to defend against Lamar Jackson. That's the difference between this Lamar Jackson versus the 2019 one, is that even though Lamar Jackson had 36 touchdown passes, I feel like this Lamar Jackson is more unpredictable than the Lamar Jackson of 2019, because he's got more control of the offense. He's in a better passing offense. No, when the Colts beat us early in the year, that was with Gardner Minshew. You remember, Richardson was gone by like week 1 or week 2 for the whole season. So I think we played the Colts week 3. He was already gone by then. So we didn't get a chance to play Anthony Richardson. Gardner Minshew beat us. And I'm gonna be real with you. If Anthony Richardson had played that game, we would have won that game. Gardner Minshew is a seasoned vet that knows how to play. Everywhere he's gone, Jacksonville, Philly, and now Colts, Gardner Minshew should be a starter somewhere. He knows how to ball. I mean, I guess he's technically the starter right now, but that wasn't their option. The Colts that wasn't their option. Their option was Anthony Richardson, and the injury made Gardner Minshew a starter. But the Colts didn't view Minshew as a starter because he would have been that week 1. But he's good enough to be a starter on certain teams because he can ball. But I don't think he could beat us a second time. I really don't. He got like 3 concussions. Who? Anthony Richardson? Yeah. And I'm gonna be real with you. When Lamar Jackson was going through that whole dispute with the contract, and it was talk about the Colts signing Lamar Jackson, I thought that maybe we would use that pick to get Anthony Richardson. I thought Anthony Richardson would be our next Lamar Jackson. But I'm not knocking Anthony Richardson because it's too early to tell. But Anthony Richardson is not Lamar Jackson. He's big, he's bulky, he can bulldoze you. But I feel like those running backs like that tend to get injured faster than the Lamar Jackson kind of runners, because you're so big and bulky, like a Cam Newton, you feel like you can truck people, and because of that big frame, and I feel like you're more prone to taking big hits, which is what happened to Anthony Richardson. So yes, at the time I was like, okay, if the Ravens don't get this Lamar Jackson thing done, Anthony Richardson would be a very nice secondary option. Well, boy, was I wrong, because Lamar Jackson getting ready to win his second MVP, and Anthony Richardson isn't even playing. Now, granted, it's too early to tell because this is his first season. We don't know anything about him yet, other than what he did in the combine and what he did at Florida. So we don't know. We don't really know what he looked. I mean, he had a couple games he played in the NFL, but we really don't know. He do need to learn how to slide, or he gonna be the next RG3. As a matter of fact, I was watching some RG3 highlights earlier today against, I think it was a Thanksgiving game against the Cowboys, and I was like, damn, RG3 was nasty in 2012. I mean, he had the speed, the track speed. He had the deep ball. I was like, damn, RG3 was that dude. And I remember I used to watch him out of Baylor, and I was like, damn, this guy's really good. But that first season with the Commanders or Redskins or whatever you want to say, he was balling. I was like, damn. Mike Shanahan had RG3 balling. And it's so sad because it's like we never got to really see what RG3 really could have been, other than that one season, because after that he was nothing, and then the injuries and shit. So we don't know. But one thing about Kyle I like is that he gonna go down. Yeah, exactly. He do need to learn how to slide. Anthony Richardson, he do need to learn how to slide. He do need to learn how to slide. He thinks I'm not getting in his brain, but I think that he believes that he's so big and his frame is so big, he doesn't need to slide because he feels like he's a hassle to tackle. Defenders don't want to tackle him, so in my opinion, he uses that to his advantage. Like, okay, I got a big ass frame, niggas ain't gonna want to tackle me, so I'm gonna use that to my advantage. But you got to realize there are people out there that are going to hit you, and you're going to be prone to that shit. Lamar Jackson, people don't know football because people was trying to use the argument that Lamar Jackson gets hurt, but if you notice, his injuries all came from in the pocket. His injuries never come from running the ball. When he got injured against the was it the Panthers last year? I forgot what game he got injured. The Panthers or the Broncos? One of those games he got injured. I think it was the Broncos. When he got injured against the Broncos, Lamar Jackson was in the pocket. He wasn't even running the ball. And so Lamar Jackson, it has nothing to do with sliding. Lamar Jackson knows how to avoid big hits when he's got the ball in his hand running. He got injured from the pocket. So people always tell Lamar is injury prone because of his running ability, and that has nothing to do with that. And that's people that don't watch Lamar Jackson on a regular basis that say that. So anyway, let me get back to my point. Let me wrap it up with the AFC real fast. If I'm the Ravens, I want to play Buffalo, I want to play Kansas City, and I want to play anybody from the AFC South. Let's just cut to the chase. Buffalo, Kansas City, or AFC South. If it's Dolphins, Browns, I'm not feeling that as my first opponent. AFC Championship game, cool. Because we all know everything is coming through Baltimore. And it's getting ready to get nasty. I was already talking about snow and rain for Saturday's game. Ain't nobody want to come to Baltimore and play under those conditions. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't done so already, whoever's in here. Ain't nobody... Only team that's equipped to handle that is Buffalo, Kansas City, and Cleveland. The other teams are not equipped to handle rain and snow in Baltimore and cold. Miami don't. The Colts don't. Jackson. None of those teams. None of those South teams are equipped to play in that kind of shit. The Ravens are. The Browns are built for that. Kansas City. We've seen Kansas City play in the snow, and Buffalo is always snowing around playoff time or bad weather. So the Ravens can do this if the cards align and they play their best football. They can be anybody on this list, even the Browns or the Dolphins. We already seen that. But it's about what you do in those individual games. I don't care about what we did to those teams in a regular season. It's what is your game plan against those teams in the postseason. So in order for the Ravens to get to the Super Bowl, obviously this is not rocket science. They're going to have to play their best game to get to the Super Bowl. But having the right matchup works. Buffalo's a good matchup. Kansas City's a good matchup. Any AFC South is a good matchup. The Dolphins without Bradley Chubb is big though. Them losing Bradley Chubb is going to help the Ravens if it ever comes to that, because he's nasty. Bradley Chubb is nasty. Without him, that makes that game a little bit better. In my every time Lamar Jackson plays the Dolphins, he's putting up numbers, except that one game in 2021. So we already know the Ravens are going to put up 20, 25 points against the Dolphins. If you look at, and somebody pulled this up the other day. Let me pull this up. Let me pull this up real fast. And I want you guys to look at this. Every time the Ravens play the Dolphins, the Ravens are putting up good numbers. I don't think I can get all this on the screen. I'm gonna try to. And you guys probably won't be able to see it anyway. Yeah, I don't think you guys will be able to see it. Let me see if I can find enough. Well, let me just read it to you. So, Ravens and Dolphins history. This year, 56-19. Last year, they beat us, but it was 42-38. The Ravens still put up 38 points. 2021 was the only game that they got us, and that was the Ravens had 10 points. 22-10, the Dolphins won. 2019, Lamar Jackson's first year as a starter, full year, we put up 59 points. So 59, 38, 56. Then the game before that, now this has nothing to do, but this is when Flacco was playing. We beat them 40-0. So 40 points, 59 points, 10, 38, and 56. So one thing is sure. When we play the Dolphins, we're putting up a lot of points. Because 59, 56 is crazy. 38 is crazy. 40-0 is crazy. So, I mean, now granted, that 2017 is a little bit different than what we got now. But the Ravens put up good numbers against the Dolphins. That's one thing that we do know. Where's my screen at here? Here we go. That's one thing that we do know, is that when they so it's a matter of, can the Ravens defense slow down that Dolphins offense? If we play them again, that's what it's going to come down to. All right, let me move on here. We've been talking about the AFC for a while now. NFC, I'm only going to talk about my opinion about what we have right now. Of course, this list is going to change based on what happens on the weekend. But San Francisco gets the #1 seed, cool. Green Bay and Dallas, we already know Dallas, at home, they play pretty good. The AFC East has not been decided yet. And who do the Cowboys play? That game is still up. That division is still up for grabs. I don't think they play each other, though. I think they already played each other. They play Washington. So the NFC East is up for grabs. And I don't think the Cowboys are losing to the Commanders. So it's safe to say that Dallas is locked into that. I mean, but then again, let me not say that, because we know how the Cowboys look on the road sometimes. Sometimes the Cowboys don't even look like an NFL team when they play on the road sometimes. At home, they're really good. When they're in Jerry World, Jerry's playpen, they look unbeatable sometimes. But when you get them outside of that playpen, Jerry World, as Skip says, they don't look that good sometimes. Now, against the Commanders, they should be able to win that game, because I don't know what the Commanders are doing. They should win that game. You're right about that, Jason. Good point. Jason, good point. You are my Jason. I love you, man. I love you. You're good point. So they play on. Now, it's gonna be a wintry mix in Baltimore on Saturday, but the Commanders play on, and the Cowboys play on Sunday. So I don't know what the conditions are gonna look like on Sunday. But you're right. If it's a wintry mess, who knows? Who knows? Because we know how the Cowboys play in elements, and we know how the Cowboys play on the road. So, but I'm going to assume, for the sake of this podcast, that the Cowboys beat the Commanders and lock up that number 2 seed in the division. That means they're going to play Green Bay, assume that holds up. The Cowboys against Green Bay at home are not losing that game. The Cowboys are pretty good on the road at home. Excuse me. Green Bay, the fact that Green Bay is even in the mix, it should tell you something. Jordan Love has had some good games, but the fact that they may make the play about Aaron Rodgers is something. Considering the fact that when you had Aaron Rodgers, you missed the playoffs. But when Aaron Rodgers leaves and Jordan Love gets there, you make it. Interesting, right? That you can make the playoffs with Jordan Love and not Aaron Rodgers. Crazy, right? All right, let's move on here. Dallas hasn't looked good in cold states. Exactly, they don't. And Jason, you know football, and you're an NFC guy because you got Cardinals. You know, the Cowboys don't look good outside the playpen. That's one goal I want to have, and maybe Jason, maybe we can, even though we're not Cowboys fans, maybe we get a group of friends and we go to a Cowboys game. I just want to experience that stadium. I'm not a Cowboys fan at all. I'm not a Cowboys hater at all. But I would love to go to that. They have one of the best stadiums in the league. I would love to go to that stadium and experience it. I almost went that one year. They had a WrestleMania. They had something, a SummerSlam a couple years ago, and I wanted to go, but I didn't go. But I want to. So maybe one year. Yeah, maybe one year we got to make that happen, because no matter how I feel about the team, that stadium is a landmark stadium that you got to go to. Plus it's Dallas. Like, there's things to do in Dallas. You're gonna have a good time, and I just need some money because I know the food gonna be good. I just need some money, and we can make that happen. So hopefully we can make that happen before the world ends, because we already know. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about the world ending. I'm just here to talk about football. Dallas, Green Bay. I got Dallas. As I mentioned earlier, Lions and Rams. Matthew Stafford going to Detroit, a team, a place that he's played before and has much success. I got the Rams winning that game. I know Burger Gnome is not going to like me saying that, but I got the Rams winning that game. I do. I got the Rams winning that game. I got them going into Detroit and handling business. I do. If the Lions won, wouldn't shock me. But I wonder how many people would pick the Rams against the Lions. I wonder. I can't wait. If this is official, when this becomes official, if it does, I can't wait to see what the betting line is on that. Because I think the Rams have been playing better. And I think the Rams have a better team. I really do. They have a better team. They have a better coach. And they have Aaron Donald. The Lions don't have an Aaron Donald. And we are on top of the fact that McVay used to coach Goff, so we know McVay knows what Goff is. McVay knows Goff. He knows his tendencies, he knows his weaknesses, he knows his strength. And you have Aaron Donald. You have Aaron Donald. I don't like that matchup for the Lions. I don't. The only matchup for the Lions that to me that would say they will win is Tampa Bay, but they can't play Tampa Bay because they're both division winners. So that, because even Green Bay beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. So I can't even sit there and say that the Lions could definitively beat Green Bay. Green Bay on Thanksgiving went into Detroit and beat them pretty badly too. So I can't even say definitively that there's no team on this list that I can definitively say the Lions could beat. Based on the matchup, they could beat an NFC South team, but they're not going to be able to play an NFC South team because the NFC South is only going to get one in because of how bad the division is, and they can't play them in the first round. But any of their potential matchups, Green Bay, Los Angeles, or Eagles, even though the Eagles, I don't think they can get there. I don't think the Lions are a better team than any one of those teams, other than Green Bay. And I think Green Bay, because they've already beaten them, could do it again. I think the Lions are a better team than Green Bay, but it would not shock me if Green Bay beat the Lions again. The Lions beat the Cowboys. Well, that's in some minds that's what happened, but on paper, Cowboys beat the Lions that game. For whatever reason, because Bergano was hot about the referees, and he said he wasn't mad that Dan Campbell went for the 2-point conversion. He liked the move. Regardless of whatever you want to say, they lost that game. Now, can they get with the Cowboys? Yes, they can. They both play in domes. They both play indoors. So, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know if I don't definitively can say the Lions are a better team than the Cowboys. So whoever the Lions would have played first round, I'm not going to say that the Lions should not be favored against any matchup, but I think whoever the underdog is could beat them. And then Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. I mean, do we have the same? I mean, even though Philly has not been playing good this year, towards the end of the year, if they end up playing the NFC South team, you might as well say that's a free win. Because whether it's the Saints or the Buccaneers, the Eagles are winning that matchup. So it looks like the Cowboys are going to win the division, which means the Eagles are going to be playing a NFC South. That's a free win. That's a free win. That's a free win. That's a free win. The Eagles are better than the Saints. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the Falcons were out of it. Aren't they 7-9? The Falcons. The Falcons are still. Oh, you're right, because Buccaneers. Okay, because. Okay, right. Because 8-8, 8-8, and 7-9. Okay, right. So yeah, it's a long shot because New Orleans just beat Tampa Bay. So if New Orleans wins though, then Atlanta. Who do they play? Let me see. Who do the Falcons play? Maybe the Falcons play the Saints or something. Maybe that's what happens. They do. Oh, they do. Okay, I got you. That's the only way that make. I'm like, how do the Falcons got a shot? But they play the Saints. So I'm assuming what we're talking about here is if the Bucks lose against who they play? Who the Tampa Bay Bucks play? If the Bucks lose and the Falcons win, the Falcons get in. Is that how that works? But they play the Panthers, so they're not losing that game. But I see what you're saying. So if the Buccaneers lose to the Panthers and the Falcons beat the Saints, Falcons get in. As crazy as that sounds, you're gonna have a 8-9 team in the playoffs. That's crazy. Yeah, Saints play the Falcons. Okay. Well, let's be real. I don't think that the Falcons are beating the Saints. So let's cut that nonsense out. The Saints have a better team than the Falcons. So let's cut to the chase. I don't think the Bucks are losing. First of all, I don't think that the Falcons are beating the Saints, even though it's a home game for the Falcons. I believe. I think I saw. So yes, technically they do have a shot. The point is, whoever wins the South, the Eagles are beating them. So it don't even matter. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's Buccaneers, Falcons, or Saints, the Eagles are winning. I don't see a scenario, even though the Eagles have not been playing well, I don't see a scenario where the Eagles lose that game. I don't. They are too talented to lose to a team from the South. But once again, we're gonna do another show where we talk about this once the bracket is complete, and then we'll do another prediction video about when we have a clear bracket. This is just basing it off of what it is right now. Saints play good at home though. You're right, but do you really trust David Carr? Do you trust David Carr with minimal playoff experience? I don't. Exactly. I don't either. Especially against a team that was just in the Super Bowl, and their defensive line is crazy. I don't see a scenario where the Eagles lose that game. On top of the fact that the Eagles is an advantage for the Eagles though, because the Eagles don't got to play in inclement weather. They're going to be playing in a dome. That's an advantage Eagles. As much as you want to say it's advantage, that's advantage Eagles. So I don't see a scenario where the Eagles lose any of those games. If they play the Falcons, it's in the dome. The Eagles are going to run. Teams that play outdoors that got to go in a dome, I always give the advantage to the outdoor team, because especially the Ravens. I don't know exactly what the Ravens numbers are, but I know every time the Ravens go inside of a dome, we have a good chance of winning that game. Because if you know how to play in elements, you can play in a dome. Lamar Jackson, when he plays the Saints, every time the Ravens play the Saints in New Orleans, we win that game. I can't remember the last time we lost to the Saints at New Orleans. Every time we play the Falcons in Atlanta, we win that game. We played the Colts, we win that game. Who else plays a dome? The last time we played the Cowboys, it was in Baltimore. I don't remember the last time we played Cowboys in Dallas. Oh, excuse me. Who else plays in the dome? We played the Rams, but the Rams didn't have a dome at that time. The point is, when the Ravens, so it's certain teams that are just better than other teams, even if it's in the dome. Like the Eagles are one of those teams. The Eagles are built to play outdoor, indoor. I feel like the Saints, Bucks, I mean the Falcons and the Saints are dome teams, and I feel like if they gotta go on the road, they're not gonna win. So even if one of those teams beats the Eagles, they're gonna lose the very next game because they gotta go on the road, more than likely. So I don't see that. All right, so we're gonna go in depth a little bit more so probably Sunday when the brackets are clear cut about who's playing who. We'll do another video. But I'm still holding on to the idea that Flacco may come to Baltimore, and they're gonna talk that all week, because whoever the Browns played first, they're probably gonna beat them. The Browns have the third best record in the conference, but they're number 5 seed because of how the whole division thing works. So the Browns are gonna be a 12-win team, the number 5 seed, because of so the Browns are probably gonna win whoever they play. And they may come to Baltimore depending on what happens in the Kansas City game. That's going to be interesting to see if Flacco comes to Baltimore with a chance to beat his old team to get to the Super Bowl or advance. That's going to be interesting. We shall see. It's going to be interesting. So I'll come back with another video talking about that. But yeah, so Ravens signed Dalvin Cook. If you just joined, you can go back and watch the VAR. I talked about what that means for the Ravens, his role, his impact, all that shit. We talked about injuries. We talked about playoff picture. I was gonna get into the whole Richard Sherman thing, but there's no need for me to do that. If you've been watching if you go back and watch my YouTube shorts, I think my opinion is very clear about Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman is talking about numbers. Lamar Jackson don't have the numbers. And he's only basing his opinion off of numbers for the MVP, not factoring in the intangibles that Lamar Jackson has. And since we're on that subject, I'm not going to talk about this a lot because I'm ready to get out of here. But if we just looking at Lamar Jackson's numbers, he has good numbers. So I don't really understand what Richard Sherman is talking about when he says Lamar Jackson doesn't have the numbers to justify being an MVP. And I'm just going to go over this briefly because I don't feel like touching on this too long, because I feel like my YouTube shorts kind of made my position clear about what I think about this whole Richard Sherman thing. Lamar Jackson has 3,600 yards passing. Mind you, he's not playing in his last game of the season. Did I think he was ever going to get to 4,000 yards passing? I didn't. So even if he played the Steelers, I don't think that he was going to get to 4,000 yards anyway. 24 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He has probably one of the fewest interceptions in the league. His QBR is 65, ranked 4th in the league. Now let's look at Lamar Jackson in totality here. Let's look at Lamar Jackson, because this is weird. Now we're just looking at the numbers, since Richard Sherman wants to talk about the numbers. So Richard Sherman, Lamar Jackson has 3,600 yards passing, 24 touchdowns passing, with a 102 quarterback rating. Now, mind you, Lamar Jackson just had a 158.3 perfect passer quarterback rating against the Dolphins. No one ever has a 158.3 on a consistent basis. That's perfect. But the man is averaging 102 quarterback rating for the season. He's over 100. Now, that's just his passing. Let's look at let's look at the whole totality. Lamar Jackson has had 821 yards rushing, a 5.5 average. Y'all can't see the whole screen because I got it zoomed in a little bit, so with 5 touchdowns. Okay, so let's add that. So Lamar Jackson has 3,600 yards passing. Now let's pull up the handy dandy calculator real fast. Let's pull up the calculator real fast And let's do some math here. You guys can't see the calculator because I don't have the display capture on, but you guys get the point. So this man has 3,600. Oh shit, my bad. Sorry about that. My bad, y'all. 3,678 yards passing on top of another 821 yards rushing. He's leading the league in rushing yards. So that gives you 4,499 yards. He's 1 yard shy of 4,500 yards. If you look at like total yards around the league, passing yards, there are quarterbacks that have 4,500 yards passing, 4,600 yards passing, 4,700 yards passing. Lamar Jackson, you can't define Lamar Jackson on just his passing yards. His totality of yards is 4,500 yards, which will put him in one of the top quarterbacks in the league as far as total yards. If you add his 5 touchdowns rushing, that will give Lamar Jackson 29 total touchdowns to go along with 4,500 yards and only 7 interceptions. That's under 1 interception per game. Lamar Jackson played 16 games. He has 7 interceptions. So he's giving you under 1 interception per game. And Richard Sherman is saying that he doesn't have the numbers. What are we looking at here? He has the yards. He has 30 total touchdowns. He doesn't give you interceptions. And he's on the winningest team in the league. What are we talking about? Lamar Jackson doesn't have the numbers. He doesn't have the best numbers, but he has good numbers on the winningest team. I don't need to make my point any more clear about Lamar Jackson. And like I mentioned, like I mentioned earlier in the show, Lamar Jackson. What's up, McFarlane? What's goody with you, my guy? Lamar Jackson doesn't have to throw the ball in fourth quarters like some quarterbacks do, because the Ravens always have the lead in the fourth quarter. He doesn't always have to throw the ball. So Lamar Jackson is essentially playing 3.5 quarters of quarterbacking for the Ravens as far as throwing the ball, whereas some other quarterbacks have to play all 4 quarters and overtime. Yeah, no, it's fine, McFarlane. What's goody? It's great to see you, man. I appreciate it. I love you, man. I love you, man. But yeah, so Lamar Jackson is the MVP. I don't give a fuck what Richard Sherman is talking about. Lamar doesn't have the numbers. He does have the numbers. And he's the leader of the offense, and he's on the winningest team. The case has already been decided. So that's my take. I don't know if I've been on a live stream since those YouTube shorts to really define my position. If you've been watching my YouTube shorts, my position is clear. Lamar is the MVP, and it's not even close. You can say McCaffrey, you can say Brock Purdy. He's beat those guys, and he looked good doing it. Then you beat other contenders for the award, and Tyreek Hill, and some were even saying Tua was an MVP candidate. He beat them, and he beat them bad. The case is closed. Lamar Jackson's going to win his second MVP award, and that's all. And that's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. I appreciate you guys coming on a special edition of the Retro Rewind podcast. We normally only do these after post games, but you will be seeing more of this podcast when it comes to the playoffs. We're gonna break down all the matchups once they are defined. I'll give you my final predictions about the first week of the playoffs. I'll give you more information about Dalvin Cook, Lamar Jackson, and I'll give you my game plan about how the Ravens should approach whoever they play in the playoffs. So, if you haven't liked the video, go like the video. I appreciate that. If you want to subscribe to the channel, I appreciate that. It's called a channel membership. It's somewhere on the channel called Join. You could join me for, I forgot what my memberships are, but if you just want to show some extra support, you can show some love. Go back and watch my videos. I appreciate that. YouTube just sent me a 2023 recap. I posted it on my story or whatever it's called. A good year last year. I'm expecting big things in 2024. Like, we're gonna take this channel to a whole nother level. I'm not playing any games. Like, I'm dedicated, I'm motivated, and I love talking, and I love doing podcasting. For some of you that don't know, I love doing podcasting. I have 2 podcast shows. I did a podcast on Twitch yesterday. I got a podcast here. Podcasting is my thing. I love to talk. Let's take this to a whole new level with content creating. 2024 is going to be a good year. Ravens, Orioles, when baseball season, we're going to be talking Orioles, and then we're going to be talking about just news in general. So if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff that I just mentioned, 2024 is going to be a great year to be on this channel, because that's what this channel is basically. It's become a sports channel. So we're going to take it and run with it. And once I get my visual together, once we're going to fix this whole layout. I like this screen that I have, but we're going to update the screen at some point. We're going to get looking a little bit more fancier. You know what I'm saying? So this is a great year to be on this channel, man. I promise you, content galore. You may even see me do more content on here than on Twitch, because I'm trying to get my YouTube channel to where it needs to be. And the only way I can do that is by dropping content. Yes, McFarlane already knows I love McFarlane. I don't need to go out there and you know, McFarlane knows, everybody knows where I stand with them. Jason, I fuck with you. CJ, I fuck with, everybody knows. And if you don't know, I'm telling you, I fucking love you. Thank you. 2024 is a year of I wrote it on my wall. Positivity. This is my 2024 goals that I'm sharing with you, or what I plan to be. Positivity only, focus, influence people, no drama, no stress. Let's do it. Let's go out there and do it. No more talking about what you want to do. Let's go out and do it. Let's go out there and make things happen. Let's create and make things happen. We're not sitting here talking about what I think I can do, what I could do. Let's go out there and do it. Because all you're doing at that point is just talking. Let's back it up with some action. I talked to Hood Ninja about this last night. I said, Hood Ninja, you're a great content creator. You're a great editor. Go out there and do it. Put your work out there. You got all these edits that you don't show nobody. Show people your greatness. You got all these files in the computer that you don't show nobody. Show people what you can do. You know what I'm saying? You're very talented. Let's get that talent to be known. You know what I'm saying? Let's have a great 2024. The only way you can do that is by doing what you have planned. So I wrote it up there about everything I'm looking forward to doing, or I'm changing my mindset about how I'm going to approach things. And so I'm working on myself to be a better person and be a better content creator. So I think you guys probably noticed that with these last two podcasts I've done on here. These last two shows that I've done on here, you can go check out the last live stream we did. It did great numbers for what this stream usually gets. We had a lot of views, a lot of likes, and so we're getting growth. So we're building here. Work with me here. Support the stream. We're building. At the end of the year, we're gonna look back to this and we're gonna be like, damn, it's evolved so much from what it used to be early in the year. We're evolving here. So let's take that ride. Let's take that journey, and let's make it happen. For those on Twitch, Hood Ninja's gonna be streaming late. I'm gonna be playing some games with him. I'm gonna be playing with John, Ready or Not. Probably gonna play some Fortnite and some Fall Guys. So later on tonight, you can join me on. I'll be in streams. I'll be playing with shit. I'll be playing with people on streams. So join me. All right, let me get out of here. I'm out. I've been talking too long. Thank you guys for a special edition. No, I'm not going live on Twitch tonight. I'm going live tomorrow on Twitch. So catch me on Twitch tomorrow. Twitch.tv/retro recap. We're gonna be playing Fall Guys, Fortnite, Ready or Not, and more. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys. Have a good day, everybody.